So it's day 2 of being Mayor of Truro in Cornwall in the UK. And what a crazy few days it is. I woke up Monday morning and I had that feeling in my belly where I'd ate something dodgy a few days before, and I just felt like I've got to go into the public meeting tonight and I've got to talk in front of everybody. And it just terrified me. And it's that wonderful, uncomfortable feeling that you can so just pull back and not do it, or you can step forward and do it. And everything was okay. I messed up my speech several times. Everybody noticed. Nobody cared. I had a big belly. Nobody noticed, or even if they did, they don't care. And I was on the radio yesterday and I probably said something, I probably messed up the words. Nobody really cares. What people care about is just stepping up and stepping forward and doing what we can from where we are. And I want to talk about that on today's podcast. So I'm Steven Webb and I'm the current mayor of Truro, which I still think is absolutely crazy. But what a wonderful opportunity. And this is Stillness in the Storms, and I help people suffer a little less, especially when times are difficult. And there's 2 things that I really want to discuss today. And that is, we're all the same. And in my last podcast, I talked about how can we love everybody? And how can I love everybody? And I talked about the fact that everybody is the same as me and I'm the same as everybody else. We are all struggling to, just better our lives in some way. And I've just had a wonderful conversation with a guy from the BBC. And we were talking about stoicism and all that. And it reminded me of a quote from Carl Jung that says, even the rotten potato sprouts towards the sun. And I just think that's a wonderful quote because, do you know what? If your life has, or somebody's life has steered you towards using alcohol or drugs or sex or something else to avoid life, or just Netflix of an evening, or just that takeaway of an evening, all we're doing is just trying to improve our lives. Every single one of those people, whether it is alcohol, whether it's takeaway, whether it's Netflix, is just trying to improve their lives in that moment. So it means we're all the same. And I just think when you approach other people like that, we stop judging them because we realize when we judge them, we judge ourselves. And I think that's so important. When we judge them, we're really judging ourselves. There's something in ourselves that we haven't seen, that's subconscious, that we're not aware of. And we judge them because we fear that side of ourselves, whether it's even subconsciously. And the other thing I just thinking about this morning, and I signed off an email. It's Mayor of Truro, Steven, Mayor of Truro. And I wrote next to it, how crazy is that or how awesome is that with a question mark? And I thought, well, that's like what a 7-year-old would do. And I thought, how brilliant. And for years, I've been denying the 7-year-old that just wants to play games, have fun, relax, see the world in a way that every day is new and amazing. You know that 7-year-old that sees something for the first time or sees a new film and they come out and they talk about it with such enthusiasm, or they met a new friend at play school. Or, okay, a 7-year-old doesn't go play school, but you know what I mean? They met a new friend at school and it's like brand new to them, like as if it's the first time this has happened. But of course, to them it has. And that's what it feels like to me. It's like I'm looking at this and going, wow, how awesome and amazing is this? This today is like, this is the first time I've had day 2 of this. And this afternoon, I'm going out to meet some of my fellow councillors that work on the neighbourhood planning team to have a look at how we can set up the settlement boundary. I don't know how to do it. I've really no clue. I've just got the passion of protecting our fields and the countryside from development and all that kind of thing. So we're meeting some of the experts and we're meeting some of the other councillors that are all passionate about this. I'm meeting a couple of other people today that I'm going to be introduced to. I'm just so excited. Like, I'm like, I don't know, how can you explain it? I'm like a school kid that is going on a school trip. That instead of doing homework and all that, they're doing something new. And I think we need to approach life a bit more from this 7-year-old self that's locked up inside of you. So what's your 7-year-old self crying out for? It's crying out for fun. It's crying out for love and attention and playing and seeing the world and experiences. So what does an older version of that 7-year-old do? Well, it does all those same things, but with an element of wisdom and experience. So it still wants to climb the rock face. It still wants to go and play, but it's about hooking on the safety net or safety line, because you know you might say something wrong, or you might fall down or something like that. So it often stops us, and we don't do it, or we cannot do that. And like I said at the beginning of the podcast, we have that stomach feeling that I felt sick and I felt awful. I barely eaten anything all day Monday, leading up to the mayor making ceremony, which is available. I'll put a link to it underneath this podcast in the podcast notes. You can see that speech online. Leading up to it, I could barely eat anything. I think I had toast for tea. And I didn't eat both bits because I just literally couldn't face it. And I was barely drinking anything. You know, I have a leg bag and I go pee in a leg bag. And I didn't want it to fill up because I didn't want to. What happens if I need to empty it during the ceremony tonight and things like that? So I was freaking out. But I stepped in anyway, because it's okay to freak out. It's not okay to back out. And freaking out is just saying, be aware. And that's what the older version of the 7-year-old needs to do. Do all the fun things. Get out your comfort zone. You know, be brave. You know, climb up that thing. But do it with a little bit of skillful wisdom from experience. But don't let that fear stop you. I think that's the message of today's podcast. And it's relatively shorter because I really need to head out in a minute. And if it's okay with you, I'm going to do shorter podcasts. I'm going to do shorter daily updates and things like that. I'm just going to do a lot more of them, because this is going to be an incredible year. And I want you along with it. God, I'm emotional now because I'm so honored, and it's just incredible for me. I want it to be incredible for Truro too, if I can. I have no idea how to make that happen, but let's do it. You know, the town I love, the town the other councillors love, every single one of them. And, you know, that's why we're there. That's why we do the public service. That's why we put ourselves out there for scrutiny and accountability, which is absolutely right. We should be scrutinized and we should be held accountable. You know, I've promised things that I want to do this year. Hold me accountable. At the end of the year, look up and go, hey, you didn't deliver, or you did deliver. You know, and during the year, make sure that you ask me those questions. How are you doing? And when I say I'm fine, say, no, I'm asking, how is your mayor year going? Are you achieving the goals you think? Ask me those questions, please. Keep me on track. Keep my feet on the ground, and make sure we deliver as a council for Truro. That's what we're all there for. So, yeah, I didn't mean to make this podcast about that. Just remember, just look at your 7-year-old self. What is that 7-year-old self wanting? And what are you denying? Start seeing the world through the 7-year-old eyes, the 7-year-old heart, the 7-year-old that loves everybody, that just wants to play, that just wants to enjoy life, that just has aspirations and goals and dreams and hopes. You know, let that 7-year-old come alive with the wisdom of experience, and then you'll do all right. then you may start loving life again in the same way I do. Take care, guys. This is Steven Webb, Stillness in the Storms podcast, and please subscribe. Hit the subscribe, whether it's on iTunes or Spotify, or it's available everywhere. And leave a review. That would be amazing, because it helps to go up the ranks, and it helps me to get my message out. And that message today: embrace the 7-year-old self. I love you guys. Have an awesome day. Take care.